Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to model this cool looking outdoor bench. And the cool thing about this bench is that it's actually completely parametric, so you can change its shape really easily, as you can see. So without further ado, if you want to see all the cool tricks that I have for you today, stay tuned. Let's begin right away. So this is our default cube and we're going to use it. We're going to expand the side panel with N, and then we're gonna go into the item and we're gonna set the dimensions. We're gonna type 420 centimeters by 70 centimeters by 45. So this is our basic shape of the bench, and we're gonna apply the transformations with Control A, all transforms. You can see the scale is now 1. And then let's go back. Let's go into edit mode with Tab, and let's add a couple of loop cuts right here. 2 loop cuts. Perfect. And then let's select, go into face select mode, and let's scale a little bit these faces on the y-axis to make it more somewhere like this. Let's go into side view to see. Now it looks okay. Okay, now let's go back into edit mode and delete these 2 edges. Delete edges. Sorry, I forgot to do one thing. Let's add a loop cut here. Let's keep it right here where it is. Okay, and then let's select these 2 edges and delete them. Perfect. Then let's select this edge and press F 3 times so we can close this holes. F once, F twice, F 3 times, and we closed all of it. Perfect. And now what we want to do, we want to go back into object mode and press Control 3. So what we've done now, we've actually added a modifier. I could have just gone into this modifier panel and add a subdivision surface modifier, but I actually chose to use the Control 3 shortcut. It's the shortcut that adds a subdivision surface. Control 3 adds 3 levels. Control 1 adds 1 level, and so on. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to make it more smooth and more subdivided. Let's keep it at 3, and then let's go back into our object edit mode. Sorry, and what we want to do now, we want to sharpen these edges. So we want to crease them. And which edges do we want to crease? We could select, go into face select mode, and we could select these faces. We could select these faces and crease them like this. But that actually would do something that I would not want, and so I would get a sharp edge here, but I want round shape like this. So we need to be, let's undo this, and we need to be in edge select mode. As you can see, now I'm in edge select mode with 2 on the keyboard, and I need to deselect these edges because these edges, I don't want them creased. Just these 4 edges on each side, and now I can crease, and now it looks just right. But we need to do something with the shape. Let's select this face, let's move it up somewhere around here, and let's scale it on the y-axis like this, and then maybe even move it with G, Y, just a bit, to have like a little bit of an asymmetric look. Okay, and then let's select this face and move it down with GZ so that we have our seat dent. Okay, I think I'm quite happy with the result. Now let's go on. Let's make the back of these benches. So let's add a couple of loop cuts with Control R. Let's add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them to have 7 sections. Perfect. And then let's select these faces. Going to select mode. No, sorry, not this one, this and this. And let's press EZ to extrude on the Z axis somewhere around here to begin with. And then let's scale, but set the pivot point to individual origins. So it's going to scale around individual origins of these two connected faces. Because if I was to scale right now with the bounding box center as our pivot point, so it would be somewhere around here, the pivot point. So scaling on the y-axis, on the x-axis, sorry, we'll do something like this, and I don't want that. I actually want individual origins, so scale on the x-axis and go to 0. Perfect. Now select all, press 1 to go into vertex select mode, and press M and merge vertices by distance. This is gonna actually merge all the vertices that are right here. If I select this vertex and move it, you can see that there is another vertex underneath. So we need to merge these vertices that are in the same spot. So let's select all, M, and merge by distance. As you can see here, 8 vertices removed, and you can also see that the shape has changed. But I need it, I want it to be a bit higher, so GZ somewhere around here. And I also want to move this vertex to be in line with this face. So I need to set my snap to face snap. Perfect. And then I want to move it G, Y, and hold Control and hover over this face, and now it's perfectly aligned. And I want to do the same thing right over there. So G, Y, hover over this face. Perfect. And now I want to move these points, and I want to scale it so they kind of move apart, but I obviously need to change the pivot point back to bounding box center. So the pivot point is here, and I will scale it on the y-axis somewhere around here. So now it looks perfect. So this is it. Half the work is done. Now sorry, another thing I would like to do maybe is go into wireframe shading. I want to go into face select mode. I want to select all these faces and also all these faces, and I want to scale it again, individual origins. I want to scale it on the x-axis a bit so that it's a little bit bigger, like this. Okay, I think this is gonna be much better. Let's go back into shading. Perfect. So this is it. This is our shape. We can also shade smooth, and you can see here something weird happens. That's because we need to go into object data properties, and under normals we need to select and auto check this auto smooth. Okay, so this is the first part. Our shape is almost done. What we need to do now, we need to go into edit mode, and we need to select all and move all geometry on the x-axis exactly 210 centimeters. Why? So this size was 420. You remember we typed 420 when we started our modeling, because we want our origin point to be right at the beginning. And that's because when we'll add a curve modifier, the curve modifier looks at the origin point. So it's going to start adding the geometry of our object from the origin point. So just trust me, do it. Anyway, so this is it. And next thing we need to do, we need to make the cuts. We're going to obviously use a Boolean modifier, but first we need to create geometry that's going to cut our model. So let's just add another cube. And let's just set the dimensions to 5. So this is our cube slice. First thing we need to do is apply a transform. So scale needs to be 1. So Control A to apply all transformations, and so the scale is 1 again. Okay, perfect. And now we go into modifier panel and add an array modifier. So we're going to array our slices down the X line. Let's add some more cuts, and let's uncheck this and check constant offset. That means that we want to space them, I don't know, 10 centimeters like this. So the thickness of this object is 5, so every 10 centimeters another one. How much of them we need? I don't know, somewhere around 40, I believe, 43. That looks okay. Okay, so now what do we want to do? First, let's select our main object and let's add another modifier. This one, the Boolean modifier. So Boolean modifier, default its difference. Just select the object you want to cut and select it, and it's done. So if I now hide my second object, you can see that it has made the cuts, but we actually don't want to hide it. We're just gonna go into our object panel and we're gonna set the visibility, the viewport display to display as bounds. Perfect, so we don't actually see it. Another thing we need to do before adding a curve modifier is we need to link somehow these two objects together, because if I were to move this object as I go out of this, it changes its geometry. So what we need to do, we need to select this one, then hold shift and select the other one and press Control P, and that's going to create a parent. So now this is a parent of this object. So if I were to move this object, everything goes along with it. Perfect. And we also don't need to see this object anymore. Okay, and now let's add finally the curve modifier. It's very simple. You just add a curve, perfect, and then while selecting our original object, we just add another modifier, curve modifier, and we need to select our curve object, and this is it. So now our object is linked to this curve. If you select the curve and go into edit mode, you can add, but press E to extrude, so add another point. You can add another point, and you can see you're creating new geometry and shaping your bench the way you would like. Let's also see something like this, or whatever. Okay, so this is it. Another thing that I would like to do is just go into when the curve is selected, go into this object properties panel and set the shape to 2D, and it's not 3D, so it needs to be on the ground, you know. Okay, and then practically your work is done. But there's another cool thing and another cool tip I'll show you, and that's the beveling of this shape. As you can see, these cuts are real sharp. Nothing in reality is this sharp, so we would like to add a bevel. But adding a bevel, as you will see, it's gonna present itself with a little bit of a problem. Why? Because we added a subdivision surface modifier, so in reality there is a lot of geometry here, and you know that the beveling cannot go over the geometry. So if you have two lines that are like this, it cannot bevel over them, you know. Let me just show you. Okay, so now let's select our object and let's go into modifier panel and add a bevel. So you see that nothing actually happens. First thing we need to do is to limit method to angle and set 30 so it doesn't bevel these edges, you know. It only bevels the sharp ones. And we will, I don't know, maybe put like 1. And then we need to go into geometry and uncheck clamp overlap. That's actually the setting that doesn't want it prevents us from creating weird looking geometry that's like open on one side or something like that. You'll see. Okay, so when I unselect this, Blender is beveling no matter what, and obviously there's a lot of problems around here. So what can we do to repair this? We will add another modifier. That's the cool thing about this bench, is that everything is not destructed. So your geometry is really simple. It's only a dozen faces, but in reality is a really complex shape, and everything is done with modifiers. So let's add another modifier. This is the weld modifier. And what does this weld modifier do? Actually, what it does, it merges vertices, close vertices. This is the distance the vertices need to be merged. So for example, if I was to increase this number, a lot of edges will be merged. First thing we need to do, 0.1, let's give it 0.1. We need to stack this modifier over the bevel, so it's actually merging before beveling. So if there are some vertices like this and you need to bevel over them, the weld modifier is going to merge them so it can bevel. Long story short, just set the bevel to just set the weld to more or less the size of the bevel. So I don't know, I want to bevel maybe to 0.2. Okay, and there are no errors at 0.2, but maybe if I was to set to maybe 0.4, I would get some errors. Okay, here it's looking kind of weird. Yes, so the beveling will need to be somewhere around the same size. That's why there were no errors, because the weld modifier was already on. But if we turn it off, you'll see a lot of different errors. Anyway, so this is the see here for example the error. So if we turn it back on, it's repairing it because it merged the two vertices that were here and creating this error. So this is practically it. We just need to add more segments to our bevel. Somewhere maybe 5, 4, 4 is okay. And this is it, guys. This is it. Our cool looking, weird looking bench is created. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and if you liked the video and if it helped you out in some way, I would really appreciate it if you could just leave me a like or even comment if you want to know something more. So catch you in the next one. Goodbye.